The latest news surrounding Manchester City clearly shows that the club is going through a transitional period, full of doubts, expectations, and behind-the-scenes movements that could change the course of the season. What initially seemed like just another transfer window has turned into the biggest squad overhaul since 2017. 7 new faces arrived at the Etihad, and there were emotional farewells to players who had marked an era, creating a mix of hope and insecurity in the hearts of citizen supporters. The arrival of Hugo Viana as sporting director accelerated everything. Names such as Rayan Ait-Nouri, Marcus Bettinelli, Johnny Rangers, and the talented Rayan Cherki came in to give the squad a new look, while veterans and young prospects took different paths. City, coming off a year below expectations, were looking for quick answers, but not all the gaps were filled. In goal, the change was radical. Ederson, one of the symbols of a golden era, departed for Fenerbahce, opening the way for Gianluigi Donnarumma and James Trafford to fight for the starting spot. It is one of the most intriguing battles of the season, as Donnarumma arrives with star status, but still has something to prove after oops and downs in Paris. Trafford, on the other hand, represents the new English generation, full of ambition and hungry to show his worth. This transition between the posts is symbolic, the end of one cycle and the start of another, in which confidence and stability must be rebuilt match after match. Meanwhile, Pep Guardiola has stuck to his philosophy of not working with a bloated squad. Jack Grealish, Manuel Akanji, Claudio Echeverri, Vitor Roque, and even the newly signed Nipam left on loan to gain minutes. The idea is clear. Give space to those who can deliver now without losing sight of the future. In this context, one name has gained even more attention: Chinho. The 21-year-old Brazilian winger was at the center of a real saga during the last window. Tottenham did everything possible to sign him, especially after losing Son and seeing Maddison suffer a serious injury, but City stood firm on their asking price and managed to keep him. Even so, there is no guarantee that the story has ended. The Telegraph reports that Spurs could return in January with an even more aggressive offer. For them, it makes perfect sense, as they are undergoing a reconstruction not only on the pitch, but also off it after the departure of Daniel Levy from the presidency. Chinho, who has already returned to training after some physical discomfort, has real chances of being available for the derby against United. This match could prove decisive for his future. If he shines, he strengthens his place at the club. If he falters, the board may open the door to a sale that would help fund new adjustments. The dilemma is inevitable. Bet on youth to build a new cycle, or cash in now, taking advantage of a heated market? The fan base is already divided. Some insist he must stay at all costs, while others believe the money could be reinvested in more urgent positions, such as defense. And it is precisely the defense that has been keeping Guardiola awake at night. In the first 3 Premier League matches, City lost twice, and defensive lapses were glaring. Against Brighton, Rico Lewis was exposed in Brennan Johnson's goal, while Matheus Nunes committed a foolish penalty. These errors cast doubt on the solidity of a system that had so often been the foundation of recent titles. That is why Pep is considering a bold surprise for the Manchester derby, deploying Abdulkarim Kusanov as right back. Naturally a center half, the 21-year-old has already been tested in that position twice and impressed. He cost £33 million and could now get his big chance in one of the season's biggest games. His pace, marking ability, and physical strength are seen as weapons to contain Patrick Dorgu's advances down United's left flank, an area that has become one of their main outlets. Beyond the tactical challenge, Kusanov has extra motivation to prove his worth. Gary Neville, United legend and now pundit, openly criticized his Premier League performances, calling him a disappointment. The opportunity to silence such a critic in a derby could provide the spark for a historic performance. Pep knows the gamble is risky. If it works, it reinforces the narrative of renewal and bravery. If it fails, it could become another crisis point. The choice between keeping faith with Lewis or Nunes, despite their recent errors, or risking the young newcomer has become one of the hottest debates among supporters in recent weeks. Meanwhile, off the pitch, a statement from Troy Deeney has further fueled debates about the squad's future. According to the former player, Pep should seriously consider moving Bernardo Silva on. The Portuguese, signed in 2017 for £43 million, was vital in all of City's recent triumphs, but at 31, he is beginning to feel the weight of the schedule. Last season, he was one of the most overworked players in the entire Premier League, and this showed in some subpar displays. For Deeney, just like Gundogan and Ederson, his departure could be the next natural step in refreshing the squad. The remark struck a nerve with both fans and the player himself. Curiously, Bernardo has been showing clear signs of resurgence, contrary to what many believe. He shone at the Club World Cup, started the season strongly, and was named captain by Guardiola, a gesture that underlines his importance not only in footballing terms, but also as a leader amid the chaos of change. His quality, experience, and ability to deliver in big games remain rare assets. Pep views him as indispensable for navigating this transitional phase. That is why the debate extends beyond the pitch. Selling Bernardo would mean giving up emotional and technical stability, something that could prove costly in a season already marked by turbulence. This renewal process connects directly with the most felt absence, Kevin De Bruyne. The Belgian left behind a void that seemed impossible to fill. 108 goals, 177 assists, and the mystique of the number 17 shirt, which still has no official owner. His departure to Antonio Conte's Napoli was not just a transfer, but the end of an era. Yet, new figures are beginning to emerge. Ryan Cherki, who arrived with high expectations, has already shown glimpses of his talent, even after an early injury. In 6 matches, he has scored twice and provided an assist, impressing even the BBC, who described him as a footballing genius. Still, the symbolic number 17 will not be his. He has inherited the number 10, once worn by Grealish. The player who seems destined to inherit De Bruyne's mantle is Oscar Bob. The 22-year-old Norwegian already has 35 appearances for the club, solid numbers, and a creativity that stands out. Last season, he averaged 3.4 chances created per match, a figure worthy of the top playmakers. In this campaign, Guardiola has shown trust in him, giving him an average of 85 minutes per game. His numbers, talent, and vision of play place him as the natural candidate to inherit not only the position, but also the burden of the number 17 shirt. For supporters, the inevitable question arises, is Oscar Bob ready to shoulder that legacy, or does he still need more time to mature? The challenge for Oscar Bob, however, goes far beyond statistics or raw talent. De Bruyne's legacy is not only technical, but also symbolic. He embodied game intelligence, composure under pressure, and the ability to transform a match with a single pass. For Bob, stepping into that space is almost like carrying a sacred inheritance. Guardiola seems to believe that the youngster can get there, but the process needs to be gradual. Some say that Pep, by keeping the number 17 shirt vacant, is sending a clear message. No one is yet ready to replace such an iconic figure. It is as if it must be proven on and off the pitch that one possesses not only the quality, but also the maturity to wear that legendary number. Within this landscape of change, the pressure surrounding Pep Guardiola also increases. The Catalan, who built a dynasty at City, knows football is unforgiving. The memory of recent triumphs is alive, but the demand for immediate results never wanes. 2 slip-ups in the first 3 Premier League matches have already cast doubt on the team's ability to compete for the title. The clash against United, therefore, appears as a watershed moment. More than 3 points are at stake. It is the confidence of a group that needs to rediscover itself. For many supporters, this derby could determine whether the season will be one of recovery or further frustrations. United, in turn, are facing their own dilemmas. After finishing last season in 15th place, Ruben Amorim arrived with the mission of rebuilding a club in crisis. With only 4 points from 3 rounds, the situation is far from ideal. They reinforce the goal with Senna Lamens, but consistency remains elusive. The derby, therefore, is not only an opportunity for City to assert themselves, but also a chance for United to bounce back and respond to their fans. Two wounded giants fighting not only for the pride of the city, but also for survival in a chaotic start to the season. In this context, the reliance on youngsters such as Kusanov and Bob becomes even more significant. Modern football demands constant renewal, but patience does not always accompany it. Supporters want results, even when transition is inevitable. Guardiola has already shown throughout his career that he is capable of reinventing entire teams, as he did at Barcelona and Bayern, but each cycle brings its own challenges. At City, he must manage the pressure of replacing legends while keeping alive the hunger for trophies within a squad that has already won virtually everything. That hunger, in fact, is the central issue. How do you motivate players who have already reached the summit of world football to keep giving their all? That may be the hardest question to answer. This is where figures such as Bernardo Silva and Donnarumma become essential. Bernardo, despite criticism, offers leadership and experience in decisive games. Donnarumma, meanwhile, arrives with the responsibility of proving he can be one of the best in the world, as he was once tipped to be in his precocious career. His presence in goal could be the key to restoring the sense of security that Ederson provided for so many years. At the same time, competition with Trafford keeps training intensity high, something Guardiola greatly values. Nothing is given. Everything must be earned day after day. But perhaps the greatest dilemma of the moment is Chinho. The Brazilian has rare qualities: speed, audacity, and the ability to decide matches with individual brilliance. In a squad used to functioning like a machine, he represents the unpredictable spark, the raw talent that can change a game in seconds. For Pep, molding this type of player is always a challenge. He has already shown with Sterling, Sané, and Foden that he knows how to develop talented wingers, but he has also not hesitated to part ways with those who did not fit perfectly into the system. Tottenham are keeping a close eye, and January could be the decisive moment in this saga. The question is simple. Will City hold on once again, or will they choose to cash in and reinvest in more urgent positions? While newspapers and pundits debate these possibilities, the atmosphere in the dressing room is one of quiet rebuilding. Young players train knowing they could be asked to shoulder huge responsibilities at any moment. Veterans, meanwhile, must cope with the looming shadow of renewal, aware that every mistake could be used as justification for their exit. Guardiola, like a conductor, tries to balance all these tensions without losing control of the group, and the derby against United is the perfect stage to test whether this orchestra can still play in harmony. Another point of note is how De Bruyne's move to Napoli has sparked debates about City's true strength outside England. With Antonio Conte leading the Italians, many see the Belgian as a figure who could transform Napoli into Champions League contenders. For City, it feels like a double blow, not only losing a star but also strengthening a potential direct rival. This only increases the urgency for youngsters like Cherki and Bob to step into leading roles quickly. Time is short, and the season will not wait. Each week, debates among supporters grow more heated. Some believe selling Bernardo would be an irreparable mistake, while others see it as necessary to make room for genuine renewal. Some argue for fully backing Chinho as a symbol of a new era, while others would prefer to use his market value to reinforce the defense. These differences are part of the passion that drives football, but they also reflect the complexity of City's current moment. There is no simple solution. Every choice carries risks, and Guardiola will need all his experience to decide which risks are worth taking. Within this board of uncertainties, one thing is clear: Manchester City are living through one of the most challenging periods of their recent history. Their recent triumphs have turned the club into a global reference, but the price of greatness is high. The cycle of legends comes to an end, and a new one must be born. Between costly signings, young prospects, and veterans still holding on, the narrative of the season is being built match by match, decision by decision. The derby against United will not only be a local classic, but a crucial chapter in a story that could define not just the season, but also the future of the team. The derby against United is not just a three-point game, it is an emotional thermometer. These are the moments when the psychological strength of a squad that has undergone so many changes in such a short time is measured. For players like Oscar Bob and Abdukarim Kusanov, the pressure is almost unbearable, proving they are ready in front of millions of eyes while carrying on their shoulders the hope of a different future for the club. Guardiola knows this, which is why he insists so much on the mental preparation of his players. For him, talent alone is not enough. Nerves of steel are required, especially when the trust of the supporters is at stake. This psychological aspect becomes even more important when we look at the context of the previous season. The drop in performance in 2024-2025 left scars, not only in the results but also in the pride of the group. Many players felt the weight of criticism, especially after a campaign that fell short of what is expected of a club accustomed to lifting trophies. The turbulent start to 2025-2026 only deepened those wounds. Now, every match becomes a battle for confidence, and every decision Pep makes is analyzed as if it were definitive for the destiny of the club. And in this environment, names like Bernardo Silva gain even more relevance. The Portuguese is not just a world-class midfielder. He is also an emotional link between the golden era that is fading and the future that is beginning to emerge. His experience serves as a reference for the younger players, his leadership as an anchor amidst uncertainty. When Troy Deeney suggests his departure as part of the renewal, he touches on a sensitive point: how to balance the need to open space for new protagonists without losing the essence that has sustained the club up to now. By naming him captain, Guardiola seems to have given his answer, at least for the moment. However, football is relentless. A string of poor performances can turn supporters' opinions in a matter of weeks. A decisive mistake in a derby can transform an idol into the target of fierce criticism, and City are living precisely in this moment of instability, where every detail gains huge proportions. The future of players such as Bernardo, Chinho, and even Donnarumma is directly linked not only to what they produce on the pitch, but also to how they withstand the pressure surrounding the club in this delicate period. Another point that cannot be ignored is the transfer activity taking shape for January. Tottenham, wounded by the losses of Son and Maddison, will not spare efforts to prize Chinho away from the Etihad. The Telegraph has already made it clear. The offer could be even more aggressive than in the last window. And if that happens, City will have to decide quickly whether to keep the youngster as a symbol of renewal or take advantage of the fee to plug urgent gaps, especially in defense. This saga promises to be one of the central storylines of the coming months, with a direct impact not only on the squad, but also on the relationship with the supporters. The most fascinating thing is to observe how all these stories intertwine. De Bruyne's departure opened the door for Cherki and Bob, but also exposed the need for new leaders. Ederson's exit brought Donnarumma, who in turn must prove he can be a new pillar of security. The uncertainty around Bernardo raises the question of how radical the renewal should be, and Chinho, while representing the future, is also seen as a bargaining chip to accelerate the rebuild. It is as if each piece on this board carries a weight that directly influences the balance of the season. And in the middle of it all stands Pep Guardiola, trying to reinvent himself once again. Few managers in football history have been able to adapt as much as he has. His obsession with detail, his ability to see the game like few others, and his courage to make bold decisions have already transformed entire clubs. But even the greatest geniuses face their sternest tests when instability arrives. At City, Pep must prove he can rebuild a dynasty without losing the essence that made it possible. The pressure is immense, but it is also in these moments that his genius tends to shine through. This derby against United, therefore, is not just a match. It is a mirror of what is at stake: the confidence of a squad, the patience of the supporters, the vision of a manager, and the future of youngsters who could define an era. A positive result could be the turning point, a spark capable of reigniting the team's flame. A defeat, on the other hand, could deepen the sense of crisis and open the door to abrupt changes, both in the squad and in the season's planning. And the truth is that English football loves these storylines. The clash between City and United has always been charged with rivalry, but right now it takes on even more dramatic contours. Two teams seeking redemption, two managers under pressure, demanding fan bases and players caught between the weight of responsibility and the hope of a better future. It is the type of derby played not only with feet, but also with mind and heart. For the citizen supporter, the question continues to echo. Is the team ready to turn the page and begin a new victorious cycle? Or will it still live in the shadow of the legends who have gone? Guardiola seems to believe in the first option, but as always, it will be the pitch that provides the answer, and that answer may begin to be written in the very next Manchester derby. And so, citizen supporter, we arrive at the point where everything connects. The changes in the squad, Guardiola's bold gambles, the doubts over the veterans, and the emergence of new protagonists. The future of Manchester City is being written now, match by match, decision by decision. The derby against United may be just another fixture in the calendar, but for the heart of those who live football, it will be the reflection of a club in full transformation. If you want to keep following every detail of this story, do not forget. Leave your like, subscribe to the channel, and activate notifications. That way you won't miss any updates, any transfer bombshells, and any behind the scenes from the citizens. Your participation is what keeps this community alive, so comment down below, who do you think will be the true protagonist of this new city cycle? A big hug, and see you in the next video.